So we're going to focus our attention on trying to get some nice length and space in the quadricep muscles. Now, quadriceps are the muscles in the front of your thigh, and if we were to think about what the derivative of, in Latin terms, what quadricep means, quad is four and cep, it refers to head. So there's actually four heads to the quadricep muscles. Now, these muscles here, they don't necessarily behave all by shortening at the same time or lengthening at the same time, where both ends either go toward each other or away. These muscles actually will lengthen when both ends kind of travel in the same direction, only one end is traveling faster than its counterpart. Rarely are you ever going to see in motion these two ends come together at the same time or apart at the same time. It's just not how we walk or run or play sports for that matter. So when I'm in this kneeling position, an interesting thing is occurring is that this knee is in flexion or bending. So the muscles at the end of the quadricep are receiving a lot of length. However, at this end, where the quadriceps originate from, right in my pelvis here or my thigh, because I'm flexed and the pelvis is moving forward, I actually don't have as much length here. In fact, we could consider this area almost shortening while this area is lengthening. And then when I go to stand, that knee extends and the pelvis moves away. So these 2 points are moving upward, this area getting a little bit more shortened compared to this area that is starting to open up a little bit. So there is this interesting interchange between the proximal and the distal portions of the muscle. One's going to lengthen faster than its counterpart and vice versa. So if we're going to lengthen out the quadriceps, we've got to do it in a couple of ways, wouldn't you imagine? We'd want to have one where the knee is bent and another one where the leg is straight or the knee is extended. In this particular case, we're going to focus on when the knee is in flexion. And to enhance this flexion, I'm going to use a box here to put my leg up on. Now, if you are of the type in terms of body position and so on, where this is an excruciating stretch and there's burning sensation and so on, don't use the box. We're just going to have you so that you're in this half kneeling position with this knee down, preferably right underneath the hip. But for many people, they're not going to feel much when it comes to this. So we're just going to enhance it a little bit with that box. Now the pelvis itself, when I move forward and backwards in the first motion, I want to make sure that this pelvis does not tilt forward. And if this does happen, in order for me to maintain a nice upright posture, I'll begin compressing into my lower back. And we'll start to see the head almost stay in one place and the hips drive forward, but me arching into my lower back. And so what's really happening is I'm getting a stretch out of my abdominals and I'm compressing my lower back, and that's not where we want to go. So it's essential that as you do this subtle first motion of shifting the pelvis just forward an inch or two, that the front of your pelvis stay level with the back of the pelvis. We want to see as if this was a plate and it had a marble on top of it, that the marble wouldn't roll back and forth. It would just stay in one place. So we want to be able to glide the pelvis forward. And in so doing, you're going to feel, hopefully, a nice lengthening sensation through the belly of the quadricep muscle. You might even begin to feel it up a little bit higher into almost the groin or the crease of your hips. That's the first movement. The second movement is more or less a sideways component, a frontal plane action, if you will. And what we're going to try and do is that once again, maintain a level posture with your pelvis, and you're just going to move the pelvis basically away from this knee and back over it. You don't have to be excessive with this motion. In fact, small motions are probably going to be much more effective than grand motions, because if you're able to go beyond a couple of inches, chances are you're getting your movement from somewhere other than where we're trying to target. Just like if I was going forward and I can really bring my hips forward, I'm not getting a stretch here. Where I'm getting it is somewhere else and not where I'm trying to intend for it to be. The last movement, aside we've done forward and sideways, we've got rotational motion. And this one you've got to be really careful with, because with this knee in flexion, there is compression in the joint. And we don't want to compress and rotate into the knee itself. What I'm going to look for when I rotate above my femur, my thigh bone, is can I get my pelvis to move away from my femur? And just simply do this action here. Again, it's not going to be a great range of motion. It's going to be very subtle. I can try and take one hand and reach back and forth in this position. That might be a way of helping to drive it. I do prefer taking my hand and holding my pelvis and feeling it rotate on top of my femur. Now, if there's restriction in here, then the femur and the pelvis may be trying to travel at the same time, and then the torque goes in the knee. That'll instantly tell you that this is being done improperly and you don't want to further exacerbate what's going on. You could actually maybe even hold on to your thigh and move the pelvis on top of it to try and get that distance occurring. Once you're done, come on up, shake it off, walk around and see how that feels. Is there more of a spring to your step? Is there a lightness in your step? What is it that you're feeling? But be sure to assess, move, and reassess just like all the other drills to make sure this is particularly the one that you need. Don't be surprised if one side is going to feel enormously different than the other side because we are not perfectly balanced. One side is probably doing a good deal of work more than the other side. Check it out and see what happens.